Do you know that Lloyd Forger may already be deeply in love with his family? Most fans focus on what Lloyd says.
Mission's a mission.
But if you stop listening to his words and start paying attention to his actions, a very different picture begins to emerge. You may have missed it, but throughout the series, Lloyd has repeatedly made choices that a perfect spy would never make. In this video, we'll break down the psychology of Lloyd Forger and examine the moments that reveal what he truly feels beneath the mask of Twilight. Let's start with the very first episode. When Anya was kidnapped, Lloyd initially reacted exactly as a master spy would.
Obviously, this location's been compromised, so first off I need to secure somewhere safe. As for Anya, there are lots of other children out there.
From a mission perspective, chasing after the kidnappers was unnecessary and dangerous. A perfect agent would have simply moved on and found another child to continue Operation Strix. But Lloyd didn't do that. Instead, he abandoned the logical choice and went after Anya himself, putting both his identity and the mission at risk. What's even more revealing happened afterward. Once Anya was safe,
Turn right, you'll find the police station. Got that?
If she shows them this, they'll put her in a better orphanage.
again, this was the practical decision. Yet the moment he saw her waiting for him and remembered her history,
She's been adopted and returned 4 times now.
his resolve immediately crumbled. No strategic advantage was gained by keeping Anya. In fact, she complicated his life considerably. But Lloyd chose to take her home. A spy saw a useful asset. A father saw a lonely child. And for the first time, the father won. This was just the first piece of the puzzle. As we move through the series, the evidence only becomes stronger. One of the clearest examples came during the Eden Academy interview, when the interviewer directed disrespectful remarks toward Yor, criticizing her, questioning her as a mother. Lloyd became immediately irritated.
Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. She's also an excellent mother to my daughter.
Not professionally concerned, not strategically annoyed, emotionally irritated. In fact, he became so emotional that he had to consciously remind himself.
Why are you getting so irritated, Twilight? I mean, she's not even your real wife.
That moment is easy to overlook, but it's psychologically important. The fact that Lloyd had to consciously suppress his anger suggests that his emotional attachment to Yor was already beginning to form. But the most revealing moment came later when the interviewer turned his attention to Anya and asked her an intentionally cruel question, forcing her to choose between her old mother and her new one. For most people, it was simply an inappropriate question. But for Anya, an orphan, who had already experienced abandonment multiple times, it was something far more painful. The moment the question was asked, Lloyd immediately understood what it would mean to her, and once again, he reminded himself that Operation Strix was too important. He tried to stay calm. He tried to act like a professional spy. After all, everything depended on getting Anya accepted into Eden Academy. But this time again, logic lost, and eventually,
May I please request a different question?
Lloyd slammed his fist onto the table, ended the interview, and declared that if a school couldn't respect a child's feelings, then it wasn't the right school for them. Think about what that decision actually meant. Operation Strix was the most important mission of his career. Anya's admission to Eden Academy was the entire reason he had adopted her in the first place. Years of planning, national security, and world peace all depended on the success of this operation. The rational spy wanted to endure the interview and complete the mission. And yet, in that moment, Lloyd chose Anya's feelings over the mission. It actively endangered everything he had worked for, but father couldn't sit there and watch his daughter suffer, and for the second time, the father won. Another subtle sign appears in the way Lloyd treats Yor's everyday needs. In episode 3, when Yor first moved into the Forger household, Lloyd noticed she owned very few clothes and personal belongings. She even mentioned she didn't have suitable clothes for the Eden interview. Lloyd immediately reassured her and suggested they go shopping. At the time, this seemed like a practical decision. After all, appearing as a proper family was important for Operation Strix. But as the series continues, something interesting happens. We gradually see Yor with an expanding wardrobe, Clothes for different seasons, sports activities, casual outings, vacations, sleepwear, special occasions. While none of this is directly pointed out, it strongly suggests that Lloyd continued providing things she needed long after the interview was over. In one quiet, easy-to-miss moment, we see Yor reflecting on Lloyd, almost mapping out his character in her own mind. And what she lands on isn't his intelligence or his charm, or how convincing he is as a husband. It's how much he does without ever being asked. He cooks, he buys the groceries, he handles the household management most people don't even notice needs handling. And somewhere along the way, he started quietly taking over her share of the chores too. The cleaning, the dishes, so she could rest. No one assigned him that. Operation Strix never required it. Think about what that small detail reveals. That is not spycraft. That is not mission discipline. That is what care looks like when no one is watching to give credit for it. The another evidence still came later, when Lloyd noticed Yor seemed unusually unhappy, and his entire focus shifted toward figuring out how to make her feel better. This is where things become almost impossible to explain as part of the mission. He didn't simply notice her mood, he became concerned by it. So concerned that he generated 826 different date plans in an attempt to cheer her up, analyzing locations, activities, conversations, and possibilities with the same dedication he would normally reserve for a high-level intelligence operation. Think about how absurd that is. This is Twilight, one of the greatest spies in the world, using those same skills to solve a problem with absolutely no strategic value. When none of his plans seemed to work, he complimented her style and offered to buy her a dress. And although Yor initially refused it, she was later seen wearing a remarkably similar outfit during one of her missions. Make of that what you will. The mission only required Yor to play the role of a wife. It never required Lloyd to quietly do her chores so she could rest. It never required him to remember what made her tired or notice what made her smile. Neither of them called it love, but their actions were becoming harder and harder to explain away as part of the mission. It didn't stop there. There is one scene that says more in 5 seconds than entire episodes of dialogue. Lloyd had to leave Anya behind for a mission. When he returned, Anya was already asleep. He felt sad, and a thought crossed his mind.
I know it was an emergency, but I ended up having to leave my family yet again. What am I even thinking? The family is just another mission.
That pause, that panicked correction, that instant scramble to rebuild the wall before the feeling could fully take shape. That is not spy discipline. That is a man terrified of what it would mean to admit, even silently, even to himself, what he already feels. And then, immediately after, the very next scene. Anya, asleep, beginning to fall. Lloyd catches her, and across his face crosses the softest, most unguarded smile we've seen from him yet. Not performed, not calculated. No one is watching. No mission requires it. We'd seen that same smile once before, when Lloyd scolded Anya and later quietly entered Anya's room and found her asleep over her studies. He gently moved her to her bed and said,
Guess I'll just record her show for her.
No audience, no operation, no strategic gain. He simply didn't want her to miss her favorite show. Now let's talk about the mission he refused to lose. This is where it gets interesting, because what happens next isn't really about saving the mission at all. In spyxfamily movie, Code White, Lloyd's handler informed him that Operation Strix was being taken away, handed off to a different agent entirely. And Lloyd did something a perfect spy should never do. He panicked, not visibly, not dramatically, but internally something shifted. He kept circling the same question. How could they hand over something this important to someone else? And he started building an elaborate plan around Anya's school cooking competition. If she earned another Stella star, maybe, just maybe, he could convince his superiors to let him keep the operation. A professional spy, reassigned from a mission, should have accepted it and moved on. That was the job. Missions got reassigned all the time, but Lloyd didn't accept it. He fought for it. He worked harder than necessary, pushed further than required, all to avoid losing something the mission itself had told him was replaceable. Ask yourself, was he really trying to save Operation Strix? Or was he trying to save his family? And in the middle of all that pressure, all that scheming, you're mentioned almost in passing that his lips felt dry from her lipstick. It was a throwaway detail, the kind of thing nobody would have expected a world-class spy in the middle of a mission to even register. He remembered it. Later, he bought her lipstick. In the middle of an operation that could have determined the rest of his career, he made space in his mind for something that small. Something that had nothing to do with strategy at all. Then, when Anya was abducted, at the exact same moment, Fiona contacted him about another mission, one she described as critical, urgent, and impossible to ignore. Lloyd didn't hesitate. He went after Anya first. By the time he reached her, he discovered that the other mission was taking place in the very same location. But that wasn't the part that mattered. What mattered was the choice he had made before he knew that. In the moment, he had to decide, with incomplete information, between an urgent mission and his daughter. He chose his daughter without a second of deliberation. In the end, Anya didn't win her Stella Star. The plan he had built everything around failed. And yet his handler delivered unexpected news anyway. They had uncovered something incriminating about the other agent. Operation Strix was his again. Coincidence? Or could Lloyd have been behind that outcome? So ask yourself this. After everything he had gone through, the manipulation, the lipstick, choosing Anya over an urgent mission, losing the competition he had staked everything on, what do you think Lloyd actually felt in that moment? In the final scene, we see Anya and Yor together, laughing at ease, simply enjoying each other's company. And the writers make a very deliberate choice here. They don't show us this moment from a neutral camera angle. They show it to us through Lloyd's eyes. We are literally seeing what he sees, and what he sees in that unguarded moment, with no mission requiring him to perform anything, is not an asset and a cover identity. It's his whole world. So does Lloyd Forger love his family? He hasn't said it. He may not have fully admitted it to himself yet. And yet, every single time there's a choice between the mission and his family, something in him keeps choosing wrong. Or maybe, for the first time in a very long time, he keeps choosing right. In part 2, we look at the people who already see what Lloyd won't admit. Fiona, Frankie, and the 6-year-old who can read his mind. Subscribe so you don't miss it. This is only getting deeper. If you want more signs from everyday episode, comment down.